Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Teacher Tip Tuesday. I'm Clara Galan, Content Marketing Manager and former teacher here at Remind, and I'm looking forward to our 11th Teacher Tip Tuesday streaming live here at Remind headquarters in San Francisco. So for those of you who are just tuning in, Teacher Tip Tuesday is a 5-minute professional development series in which we interview educators from around the world to talk about innovative and creative classroom practices and communication strategies and share their ideas with the Professional Learning Network. So this afternoon, I'm really excited to be joined by Rick Coughlin, who is a technology integration specialist from Plymouth Canton Community Schools in Michigan. So hi, Rick. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Great. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. How long have you been with the Plymouth Canton District?
I've been here for 10 years. I started out as a classroom teacher. I taught 7th and 8th grade language arts, and I taught ed tech. So that was my interest in technology, really just how do I leverage technology to increase engagement and learning in my classroom. And as our district chose to go one-to-one, they created this position, which is increasingly a position in districts more and more, and so I decided that was my next step. So here I am.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot of experience, not only in the classroom, but also, 10 years as a, technology integration specialist. That's really great. And I'm sure, your experience in the classroom really helps you figure out, what are the pain points of teachers and what they really need to use ed tech to help learning. So, speaking of that, is there a particular practice or strategy that you've been implementing or teaching the teachers in your district lately?
So this is our second full year of becoming a Google Apps for Education district, and so we've been working a lot with that. And just really trying to encourage more collaborative, practices across the district. It's a large district, so we have 25 elementaries, 5 middle schools, and a 3 high school campus where all the schools are on one campus. So there's in any grade level, there's a lot of us in that. So really, communication is key. Remind, I think, I used it when it was Remind 101 in my classroom, and it was a great communication tool, just to communicate with families and students who at the time probably had flip phones, but still it was a way of communicating. So really, between Google Apps and more people are realizing that Remind is a good additional tool and easy to use tool for the classroom. It takes seconds to set up, and on my level, one thing I'm doing is I'm asking teachers to sign up with my Remind, and I'm using it to push out a tech tip of the day. So whatever device, everybody has a smartphone these days, so they can get a quick tip. I try to keep it really simple. Give them one resource, something for them to think about, or somewhere they can go. And I usually kind of ask a question: are you doing this? If you are, try this. So I don't have a ton of people signed up yet, but I'm hopeful that word will spread, and I'll continue to get more people following me through Remind. I hope that was I carry on, so hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. It sounds like, the combination of Google Apps for Education and Remind are really helpful, like you said, for connecting your district. I love the idea of, like the PD at your fingertips. I know teachers are super busy, and so it's nice to be able to have that professional development tech tip of the day sent straight to their phones. And I love how you phrase it as a question, too, because then they can be able to reflect and see that resource. Are there any other, I know you're using Google Apps and Remind, but are there any other tools or strategies you use to make sure that everyone's connected and learning the new strategies?
Well, teachers are really liking Google Classroom as part of that, and pushing out information through there too. I just really all of these tools, including Remind, are a really clean interface, really simple. So it's easy to teach staff how to use it very quickly. There's not a lot of front loading, and it can be effective right away. Because we have so many changes, we're in the middle of a 3-year one-to-one rollout where we have iPads scheduled for K2, and then Chromebooks scheduled for 3 through 12. So while we're doing one-to-one, we're also converting to Google Apps for Education. We're looking into a new learning management system, and so there's a lot of changes happening. And so aside from PD at your fingertips kind of model, that asynchronous kind of learning, we also have a large-scale conference that we're doing each year for professional development. We call it the I3 conference, tech conference, where teachers have a choice what sessions they attend based on their needs. We're also doing small group PD, so we're targeting staff that are scheduled for the next phase of the rollout. So right now we're pulling out 3rd grade teachers, 7th grade teachers, and 10th grade teachers, because in the fall their students will have devices coming to the classroom. And that's a full day pullout for those staff, and it's packed full of information. Usually people are pretty exhausted by the end of that day, but it's well received and appreciated. So and we do a train the trainer model, so we're building capacity with staff. We bring in Google Certification Academy every year, and so we're getting a lot of staff that are Google certified educators to also turn around and train their colleagues. And then, of course, we have multiple Google sites for support, something a lot of districts are doing, but we use YouTube for screencasts and things of that nature. So, and then we're encouraging Twitter use, of course, too, because I think you all know that that's a great resource for staff too. So we're all over. We're on Twitter, and so it's multi-tiered. Lots going on.
Yeah, I think all of those are, like you said, really helpful, using a combination of social media, Twitter, in addition to Remind and Google Apps for Education, are all such great ways to keep everyone connected and everyone on the same page, whether they're on the go, on their mobile device, or on their computer. And I think I love the train the trainer model. Because I think just like students, it helps so much with learning. If you're able to teach it to someone else, it just helps that acquisition so much more. And then accessibility too. So something about Remind is that it's available on any iOS device, so iPads, in addition to Android and Chromebooks. So I think having it on multiple devices, whether you're one-to-one or BYOD, that's really key. So thanks so much for sharing. It looks like we're running out of time, but thank you, Rick, so much for joining us this afternoon. For those who are tuning in, how can they get in touch with you on Twitter if they have any questions?
It's at Mr. Coughlin, so Coughlin.
Great, thanks so much. And thanks again for all of you tuning in for this Teacher Tip Tuesday, and thanks again to Rick. If you have any questions about this interview, you can tweet at us. We're also on Twitter at RemindHQ, or on Facebook at facebook.com/RemindHQ, and be sure to include the hashtag TeachTues, so that's TeachTues. If you'd like to be interviewed or have your class featured, be sure to get in touch on Facebook or Twitter. I'm Clara Galan, and you can follow me on Twitter at Miss Clara Galan. And be sure to tune in next week for some more great teacher tips. All right, thanks. Have a great afternoon.
You too.